Hey everybody, how's it going? Hi. What's new? What's shaking? Oh, I have a barrette hanging in my hair. There may be a slight breeze. I'm getting cut off again. Okay, anyway, there might be a slight breeze because I have a fan on. My office gets kind of hot. It gets really hot. But the nice people at the office co-working space where I have an office, we told them it's too hot in here. And like we have south-facing windows and sun rises in the east and sets in the west and west-facing windows. So we have sun all day, and that's nice. But as the building engineer told me one day, he's so sweet. He was like, "You could fry egg on these windows. They're terrible." And so I was like, yes, I mean, if I had eggs, I probably would give that a try. So anyway, so it was a beautiful day in Chicago, and I went on a walk with a friend of mine. I mean, I don't know, a long way, a really long way. And it was hot. I feel a little sunburnt, and yeah. So I left the shades up in my office on this beautiful day. So I arrived to set up the show, and it was a little warm. It was a little steamy. So I've got a fan going, and it's nice. You know, I mean, it was very summertime today. And people in Chicago, when it's summertime, or spring, whatever, it feels like summertime today, but they go a little cray-cray. And you can't blame them. Winter, you know, it's not that bad here. It's not that cold here compared to other places, really. I mean, compared to other places that have winter, it's not so crazy. But it was long this year because it wasn't very cold until the very end. We had like a month of really cold weather, so it made it feel longer. Anyway, so I'm back in the office for the second time today, and it's time for the show. And if you haven't been here before, or if you're not, if you haven't come around or you're not familiar with what this is, I'll tell you really briefly that Quilt Nerd starts at about 10 past the hour. It's not because I'm late. I mean, I used to be like early all the time, and then my mother started being sort of a little bit late. And so now I'm kind of that way, but it's not that way for the show. I wait till about 10 past because notifications go out to when you go live, and YouTube sends out notifications when they do, Twitch sends out notifications when they do, Facebook, and so forth. And so I've learned from watching other live streamers that you play an intro for about 10 minutes so that people can gather. And it's also nice because when you have a show that's been on for a while, people start to know each other, and it's really fun because they get to like chat for a while. It's kind of like the lobby, you know. People are like hanging out and chatting with each other before the curtain rises, right? And so so that's what we do. And the show isn't about how to make quilts. It's about what quilts mean and the history of them. And we talk about art and people, and we talk about. I mean, last time, was it last show? Cake, was it on? Yeah, it was Tuesday, right? When we talked about judging, quilt judging, like officially, like.
I think that was Tuesday.
I think it was Tuesday. And by the way, I want to welcome Stephanie Cake. Stephanie Cake started watching the show like, I don't know. I mean, earlier on, right? Like it was, you know, you caught wind of it, and actually, and so before I ask her the question I want to ask her, Cake asked me, you know, do you need some help? Do you need a hand? And I was like, I probably cried because when people offer to help, I usually cry. And I said yes, that would be wonderful. And so so she's here for every show. She's never missed a show. She helps out and she brings so much to it, and I'm really grateful for her. And so yay. And everybody else is too. And so I wanted to know, Cake, how did you hear about Quilt Nerd? Like, because you know what I haven't even blogged about Quilt Nerd. I'm such a dummy. I need to do it. I used to have a blog. Anyway, how did you hear about it? Because you were early on.
I think I maybe had come across one of the replays of the stream on YouTube.
Sure. Okay.
But it was specifically during one of Jenny Smith's classes on Quilt Folk that you were a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm drawing up, like, I think it was the Bronte Sisters workshop?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I talked about it, yeah.
You toured the museum and stuff with Jenny, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So you were there, and when the class ended, you said, hey, if anybody's interested, come on over to this thing I'm doing. And I was like, I like Mary. Let me see what she's doing.
And it was,
yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And it was this crack up of a show, you know? And I'm so glad that you watched. And, you know, this show is different from a lot of shows that other, that other quilt interested people consume. It's not a podcast because it's visual, right? And it's not recorded, it's live. And it's not a presentation or a webinar. It's not a lecture that I would be giving to your guild. Presentations that I give to guilds are very different. And I save that content for those guilds because they pay me to come and talk to them or any event. You know, I don't just do those for, you know, I mean, it's very, very different. On this show, it's freewheeling. I prepare. I have all kinds of things ready for you. I think about when I started this show, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. There's a lot that goes into it that is just kind of like, it's just second nature to me now. And my hope is to keep improving the show, keep improving the production value, keep getting better and grow the subscriber count. Not because, you know, that's my main goal. In fact, we've talked about it before that I'm like, I just love doing it. I don't care. Like, I don't care about, you know, numbers and things. But, you know, the more people who subscribe, and you subscribe through Twitch, that's how you do it. That's our home base here. It's on Twitch. People can watch on YouTube and Facebook, but the party really is on Twitch. And you can subscribe on Twitch. And I'm going to talk about why you want to do that in one segment of the show. You'll see. Tonight, we're going to have a Quilt Nerd news report. Yeah, you'll see. It's very exciting. Anyway, so I'm going to talk to you about why you should subscribe and all the things that, you know, that are coming up, because a lot is coming up for the show. We travel for this show. The more people who subscribe, the more I can do. It's as simple as that. You know, it takes money to like go to a quilt exhibit in New York City, which is going to happen. And you know, it just takes, and I'd love to have like, I don't know, an office that isn't hot all the time. And so, I mean, one day it could be like, there could be like a studio. I mean, this is not going to happen tomorrow. Okay, I know, but I just keep doing the work, and I keep being grateful for the people who help me, and I keep being grateful for the people who subscribe to this show. And that is awesome. So yeah, we talk about quilts. That's what we do. And it's pretty fun. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, but we're going to get to all that. Drink Wine and Solin subscribed to Tier 1. You have been subscribed for 8 months. You're on an 8-month streak. Drink Wine and Solin, we love you. You got a referral, I think, from the goddesses, the twin goddesses, the dual goddesses that are Dee Dee Brew Crew, and it's okay. They won't, I mean, sorry. I hope I don't embarrass you, but yeah, you're really valued members of our community, and you brought in Drink Wine and Solin as far as I know, and that's a good thing. Jill Alex subscribed with Prime. You've been subscribed for 17 months. Holy cow. I look sun-kissed. I do look a little sun-kissed. I got sunburnt. And you know what? Out on the lakefront, you know, these trixies wearing their little skimpy outfits. Well, I had to wear a t-shirt and a bandana around my neck because I'm a delicate flower and my family is prone to the skin cancer stuff, you know. I'm pale, pasty. So I always feel dumb when it's hot out. And you know what? I'm going to make a public service announcement right here. Thank you, Jill, very much. But I'm going to say this. I've always wanted to tell a large audience this, or I don't know, more than just like one person. A hype train is close. Ooh, if you subscribe, gift, or use bits now, we could like get a hype train, which is just really fun. And that means like confetti like pours over the chat and stuff. Anyway, so subscribe right now and we'll get a hype train. Anyway, Twitch is full of fun things. So here's what I would like to recommend. If you are, thanks, Robin. Hey, we did it. We did a hype train. That's so cool. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. That's cool. Whoops. Nope. Great. When I have been in hot weather, when I've been outside and the sun's shining, and I'm wearing more clothes than I probably want to wear, and more clothes than anybody else is wearing, sometimes someone will say to me, "Aren't you hot in that? Aren't you hot?" And it's like, I don't like that question because I have a reason, right? Like I am hot, like I'm super hot, and I would love to like take off my shirt, but I can't, for one reason or because I don't want to, because it's whatever, and so yeah,
because it's socially unacceptable.
Because it's socially unacceptable, exactly, exactly, and so, but I've always been, because I remember like in school, like in summer or like in like when the weather was warm, like. I don't know, I was so self-conscious, and I would wear not like a wool sweater, but I would like not be in a tank top, because it wasn't comfortable, because like, aren't you hot? It's like, I don't, you don't know what to say, right? So anyway, that's the public service announcement. All right, and then the last thing I want to say about the show is, we run about 2 hours, and I heard somebody say from somebody else, who wants to watch something for 2 hours? I heard that, and it's totally okay. I think, it was in the context of this show, and I totally get it. I do get it. Because before I started watching live streams a couple years ago, not in the quilt world, because there aren't any. I don't know if there are any. I don't know. No, there are some live streams, but I watched live streams in a different community, and it was a new kind of thing. It was a new format. And I think it's the format that a lot more people are going to be using in time. Oh my God, we got the kitty. We got the kitty. Who did it? Who's responsible?
Bridgewater.
Stephanie Bridgewater just gifted a subscription, because you can do that when you're a subscriber to Quilt Nerd. You can gift a subscription to somebody else, and you just did that, Bridgewater. And so when that happens, a little image of a kitten sewing pops up on the screen, and that's why we love live streaming. Anyway, so it's a good time, and what's nice about the live stream component, not only, I think the best thing is the chat and the visuals, because quilts are things that we look at, right? And there's wonderful videos we watch together about quilting. We're gonna watch a video tonight about an incredible quilter, and the format sort of being what it is you can do other stuff while it's on. I just talked to a good friend of mine who said, I don't chat, but I have it on, and I'm like doing stuff, and then I look and it's great, or I watch the replay, which you can watch on Twitch, and right now you can watch on YouTube. So it's longer, but it's not, you don't have to sit down with popcorn and watch it all, and I probably wouldn't. I would definitely be like sewing while I watched it, or cleaning up while I watched it, or even just listening in the background. And I would love it if you're so riveted that you eat popcorn and watch the whole thing. That's great. And if you do, you should subscribe. But it's different, it's like a different thing. Remember when Instagram was new? Yeah. Remember when Facebook was new? Twitch, live streaming, this kind of format, it's new. Anyway, so every once in a while I kind of go into that to talk to people who are new to this and just kind of give them some, kind of frame it for them, So, my sun-kissed self will now commence the content. I am a little. So here we go. Every show begins with an intro quilt. Let me get small here. I'm gonna get small. Help! I'm small. And I saw all kinds of friends in the chat. I saw Robin, of course, and Eva, and Gamer Granny. You subscribed. I saw you. Did I call you out, Gamer Granny? Didn't I see that you resubscribed? Quack Cat subscribed. Mother Nature. Oh, it's good to see you. Oh wait, Calamity Cortez. I haven't seen you in a hot minute. Oh my God. We've got another gift subscription and another hype train. I should be sun-kissed more often. Oh my God, it's the kitten. We love to see it. Oh no, is this like, this is happening. Jill Alex, are you serious? Pastrami tacos. What'd you say, Cake?
I said Jill's making it rain.
You're making it rain. I love it so much. Jill, you know what? You have a star turn here today. You're in the show. And I need a picture of you. And I told Stephanie Cake, I was like, I need a picture of you because we're going to be doing stuff together soon here. And I need to have your face if you consent to such things. And I said, I need a picture of Jill Alex's face, Cake. And Cake literally didn't miss a beat. She's like, for a wanted poster. That was amazing. That was amazing. It was so good. Thank you for those gift subscriptions. So everybody who got a gift subscription, if people in the chat could put a welcome basket in the chat, that would be great. That would be so great, because anytime you're new here or you chat for the first time or you subscribe for the first time, you get welcome baskets, and it's a really cool community. It's great. We help each other. We do stuff. It's a good time. Sherlock's here. I love it. Eva, hey. So, hi. You resubscribed today too. Well, you will be very glad you did. So what is this quilt behind me? Every show the quilt changes. And this time, Miss Eleni, you're cheerful is what you are. I love that. This time, this show, there aren't too many instances when I find, and I don't want to sound ignorant. I mean, there's a whole lot of books I don't know about, and there's a whole lot of quilt history that I have no idea about, and there's all kinds of things I have yet to learn. But when you kind of like are online a lot for years looking at different, books, and like then when you do a show like this where you're just like all up in the books all the time, and and you kind of know that it's not too often you see a book you didn't see for a while, you didn't see before, and I came across one by accident. By accident. My friend was like, one of the things I can't stand with the kids these days was when they say on accident. I was looking at you, Cake, and you were like, oh, yeah. I mean, literally, that ship is the literal. That's gone. We literally is gone. It's never going to mean what it once meant. But yeah, but he said he really hated on accident. So thank God I didn't do it wrong. By accident. I came across this by accident, and this is the book, and it's called Prize Country Quilts by Mary Elizabeth Johnson. And it's interesting because, well, the algorithm does what it does. We're going to look at a pictorial quilt. In the second half of the show, we're going to look at a pictorial quilt by Hystercine Rankin. And I think the internet thought that maybe this quilt on the cover of this book, this pictorial, very cool, very interesting quilt, was perhaps, it was one of Hystercine Rankin's quilts, because it looks a little bit like it. Oh, look at this cute, look at that little scamp. Some little kid was drawing a very cool steam engine or something. Anyway, so this book,
that quilt is children's drawings, right? That's what it looks like to me. It's children's drawings.
That is so great.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm even more interested in this book. That's so cool. So we're an A-Books affiliate at Quilt Nerd. So Stephanie Cake's probably already done it. Put a link in the chat for this book by Mary Elizabeth Johnson, Prize Country Quilts. An interesting title. I'm not sure what I'll find. I know there's patterns in there, but as I was flipping through a couple of the images that I found on the internet from the book, these were some of the images. And this book was published in 1977, and it's very, I picked the intro quilts very carefully, and because I don't know, I find it very important to set the tone and set the stage for the show. And so I love this. And this is kind of a quilt square. And so there's a pattern in this book for this. I don't want to give too much away, because when this book arrives, we're going to look at it. But the reason that I got it, I mean, there's so many pattern books that I don't purchase because, hey, Shirley, thank you for liking the stream. There's so many pattern books I don't purchase because that's not what I'm after here. Of course, if I was teaching you all the time, then I would do that. But what I want is stuff like this. I mean, 1977. This quilt square, and I don't know the dimensions of this or whatnot, but East Tennessee Farm, page 109. So I suppose there's a pattern for this in this book, and this is very, very interesting. This is very interesting. Yeah.
We've looked at this one before, because I remember looking at it, and it's like one of those things where maybe at first you don't see the trees, and then you see them and you can't unsee them.
Yep.
But if you can let your eyes relax, you see it again as like just a pattern. And I just sticks in my head so much.
I meant to grab this, and I am going to grab it now. I am going to drag this down over here. I am going to show you where this comes from. Hold on. I'm going to open the file because I just found it. Because I have a lot of things. Okay, I can't pull that down. That's fine. Hold on. Sorry. There's my desktop. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah. Remember this? Yes, you do remember this. What's that? Go ahead.
You told, yep. It is.
Yep.
It is the one.
Boom. Right there. I have too many files.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I didn't expect these to be, when you gave me the title of this book,
yeah.
I did not expect these to be the quilts that were in it.
I know, right?
Like they're, totally not what the title tells us.
Prize country quilts, like, okay. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But, the title is not great, but we don't, I agree. So this quilt, by the way, came from the book about Florida quilts. And this is very interesting because, look, we see in the Florida quilt documentation book, Mabel Schofield Wolford and Kenneth Wolford. And maybe, because this book was published after, long after probably. And we have a books link for the Florida quilt book too. If you want a picture of this quilt and you want to know, it's like really good. I don't know what it is, Cake. I didn't think about bringing this up, but it's probably, Florida quilts or something like that. But this is maybe something that lady made because she looked at this. That's the same thing, right? And this is very Art Deco, in my opinion. And made in 1979. It's called Florida Forest. And if you think about it, in 1977, there were not that many quilt books. My mom and Liz started making their quilt books, in the 80s, the early 80s. So, I think it's very possible that this lady made this quilt because she had this book from Ms. Johnson. And if Florida Forest, Florida Forest, that's what her quilt was called, right? Great. So on page 118, there's a pattern for that, and she did it, and she made it. That's it. Oh my God. That is so awesome. It's gotta be, right? Florida Forest. So cool. Oh my God. Didn't need that is a gift for the show. Anyway, so I discover things with you. I do not prepare some sort of, deep, it's not a lecture, right? I want to learn with you. And then, so these are kind of wild, right? This is just, you know what this reminds me of? Hold on. It reminds me of a work by Shapiro. Hold on. Big Ox. Sometimes I think maybe, I can't remember, like, do I know CPR? Do I know it? Do I know it well enough that I could do it? If somebody, I think so, but like what I really remember is like quilt images. It's not great. It's like I could probably do better remembering things that are, slightly more useful, although thinking of things like this, pretty useful if you're hosting a live stream about quilts. Check this out. Are you ready for this? So that quilt reminds me of this painting by Miriam Shapiro. Big Ox. And Miriam Shapiro we looked at. I think, in fact, Miriam Shapiro, the artist who was active in the 1970s, who used a technique called femage, and she had fabric and patterns, and she used all kinds of, she used aprons in her quilts. She would sort of collage all kinds of quilt blocks and aprons and lace and things on her paintings, and she was very feminist, and she was very interested in reclaiming sort of craft and domesticity. Well, she began really doing a lot of abstract painting, and this is called Big Ox. And come on, I'm not saying that Ms. Johnson was thinking of Miriam Shapiro, but oh, damn it. Okay, hold on, I'm not going to do that again. Okay, Big Ox. Yeah. The brain wants to make patterns. pretty much probably all it is. But anyway, so I ordered this book through the Abe Books affiliate link, and we'll take a look and see more about what was done here in 1977. You know, a year after the bicentennial, this lady knew there was a market for quilts, and she did that. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Let me see. Let me go over here. We're ready to... Susan R. Michael, oh, it's so good to see you. And Sherry's over there. Oh, 2026. Oh, wow. Sherry, who I think is over in maybe YouTube land or Facebook. 2026, says Sherry. The USA will be 250 years old as a nation. In 2026? That's pretty interesting. So the bicentennial, and then is the 300 the tricentennial? Probably, right? Is it tricentennial? I wonder if 250 is called something. I mean, it is a quarter of a millennia.
Yes. Isn't the a nerd's correct me? I don't know if I've seen Wurdenberg Nerd. I feel like she knows the answer to this.
Kathy,
I think it's the Sestercentennial.
Ooh.
I think. Mm-hmm. So you've got the bicentennial and then a Sestercentennial, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Semi-quincentennial. Okay. Maybe the Sestercentennial is a different one. I just did it. I just had a quilt in a show that was a 250th anniversary, and I'm pretty sure they called it a Sestercentennial, but I don't know.
Okay. Sestercentennial.
Sesquicentennial, yeah.
Sesquicentennial. Bridgewater says sesqui. Is that right, though? Sesquicentennial? Ooh, I love, Sherlock says semi-quincentennial. Semi-quincentennial. That is really fun to say. I encourage you to say it out loud in your own home at this moment. Semi-sesquicentennial. That's great.
I wonder if it's like, is it like by, oh gosh, what's the one that's biennial? Where it's like, is it twice a year or is it every 2 years? And it can be both.
Biennale.
That's biennial.
Mm-hmm. I never know.
Stop trying to confuse us, people.
Exactly. Miscellany, hey, semi-quincentennial. Okay, so that's great, Sherry. That's very interesting. By the way, Sherry, I like your style. I like you throwing in that stuff, that info into the chat. I think you should come over to Twitch. I do. I think you should subscribe, and you can sign up with Amazon because Amazon owns Twitch because Amazon owns everything. But okay, not everything, but they do own Twitch. Come over here. Because yeah, you like it. Okay. Anyway, so here we go. This is a never before seen, never before done segment on Quilt Nerd. It has its own sound cue. Yeah. It has its own background. And the reason that we have this segment on the show is because there is so. In fact, let's just get it going here. Let's get it going. Oh, wait. Hold on. Yeah. So I kind of screwed up because I did this, like, Chiron thing or whatever. Like, I made this Quilt Nerd News, like, thing. And then I realized that once I put myself on the screen, I cover it up. But that's what it looks like. Do you like it? Do you see it, Cake? You see it, right? Okay. So I should have, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm the anchor of Quilt Nerd News. Let's hear that again. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Okay. It's even animated. You see how it's animated? Okay. Hey, babe. Hi, babe. Amy, hey. But I was thinking I want to send you an email. I have to think about. I have to remember that. Anyway, so Michael, yay, and Hero, hey, Hero's here. Could we get? Let's see, Hero, are you? I feel like I'm gonna send you a welcome basket because I caught your eye, and I want to make sure you're feeling welcome here. So here's the thing: Quilt Nerd News is your news source for anything and everything Quilt Nerd related, okay? And my family, we are paper planner, paper calendar people, okay? I tried to use only the Google Calendar or the Outlook calendar. I couldn't do it. I have to have a paper cal. That's what we call it, a paper cal. My mother, my 2 sisters, we all use a paper cal. Okay? Look at this. Oh, yeah, that doesn't work. So I have to do it. And as I look ahead to the paper cal, there's so much coming up. And the bakery, which is Cake, Robin, otherwise known as Biscuit, and Susanna Makes, otherwise known as Pie. We had a meeting about the schedule, and I thought that there's so much coming up, and it's so cool that that's part of the show tonight. And so I have prepared a new segment. Yeah. Hey, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I mean, you know, okay. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, because there's so much, a professional makeup person would be great, but later. Okay, so there's so much, and I want you to, now I'll go through it slowly, because the thing is, usually we do announcements about quilt exhibits we're going to travel to. Yeah. We do, I do announcements at the top of the show, but in fact, I don't want to go too fast, and this is cool stuff. So I will go through this as our news report, and every time we have a new thing, a new news report, I will do this. But I won't play it all, but I mean, I programmed it, I'm going to use it. So next week, actually tomorrow, I have nothing scheduled, which is really nice because I need to pack. I am going to be packing for Iowa. I'm going to go home to my hometown and hang out with my mom, Mary Ann Fons, and I'm going there on Monday, very early in the morning. And the reason that I'm going to go there, hang on. The reason that I'm going there, I better scoot over a little bit. Hang on. Can scoot over here. The reason that I'm going home to Iowa, I mentioned this last show, I think. I'm going to do a workshop with my mom for Quilt Folk called Finishing School, and we're going to talk about how to finish vintage tops, quilt tops, and vintage blocks and things. And it's going to be really cool. And so from April 17th through the 25th, I'm going to be in Winterset working with my mom. We've been doing tons of work on this class, but we need to get together in her sewing room and really work out the step outs and the demos and things that we're going to teach on the workshop, which we film in May, okay, in Winterset. So I'm doing show stuff next week for that workshop. So next week on Tuesday, I need to get a confirmation from her. But I mean, Mom's going to come on the show next week, like she'll show up, I guarantee you, because she just has to. But anyway, but she loves it. She loves being on Quilt Nerd too. And so Tuesday night is the idea. So Tuesday night at 7:00 p.m. You can count on Mary Ann at least making an appearance, but probably she'll hang out with us for a while. Steph, I'm gonna mention what you said, which was exactly the case, and Mom would be happy that you said it. The Tuesday show was a little earlier than the Saturday show. Mom's probably more likely to do the Tuesday show, and she would be grateful to be asked to do the Tuesday show instead of the Saturday show. So that's really exciting, and I think you should be around. They're not subscriber only streams. They're not. Next week, normal streams. You don't have to be a subscriber to watch Mary Ann and I cut up, but that's really exciting. I felt like it was worthy of a news item. Here, watch this. Welcome to Quilt Nerd News. Now for our next report. Sorry, what I gotta do? Okay. Oh, okay.
You need a blazer or like a weird sheath dress.
Yes, you're right. And big hair, and like, and I need to do this, just like all of the, like Tucker Carlson does this, and like all the CNN news anchors do this. I don't watch any of them because they're terrible, but like they all go like this. They like make that like concerned face, like. Anyway, it's terrible. I hate everything. So anyway, so Sunday Social. When you subscribe, you are valued. When you watch, you are valued. But I gotta tell you, when you subscribe at the tier 2, definitely at the tier 3 level, you show that you really love the show and you want to support its existence, right? Because you can subscribe at different levels, and as you subscribe at different levels, you get different stuff. And I'm working on like all the different perks, you know, for all the different things, the different levels. It's one of the things you get when you subscribe at tier 2 or tier 3 is you get special streams, like VIP streams, right? And one thing that happens every month is the Sunday social. And the Sunday social happens usually at 11 a.m., okay? 11 a.m. Central. You get a private stream. And people who are in the Sunday social, which is the tier 2 and tier 3 subscribers, you know, it's an awesome time. Like, it's different. It's a different show. I mean, it's not even really a show. We hang out, we sew together. I do all kinds of different things. I mean, I try to have something really special for the Sunday social because I really appreciate you, and I don't know, I want to keep it interesting. Well, the Sunday social that's coming up for this month, April 30th, is what you could describe as extreme for a few reasons, okay? For one thing, actually, I'll say this first. Kate, could you put in the Verloop link? Could you put the Verloop link into the chat? We're going to do a giveaway that is for tier 2 and tier 3 subscribers only. I don't know, it was maybe a month and a half ago now. This company called Verloop is so amazing. They're so cool. And they make wonderful goods, like knitted goods with quilty themes. When you click on Verloop, you will see what I mean, like home goods and stuff. Well, Verloop, we featured them on the show. Cake and I and Robin and Susanna all got a lovely Verloop gift. And Verloop saw the show and they were like, we want to give a giveaway. We want to give you something for your viewers. And it's not just one. Is it one? Is it one or two? I can't remember. Robin will know. I think it's one. I think it's one item. Right?
No, I think it's 2 items.
It is 2 items. Okay, thank God.
Yeah, it's the throw and the pillow cover.
So, yeah, there's a throw blanket from Verloop, a quilty throw blanket, which, I mean, Cake, you've got one, and I've got one. I use it all the time. I love it. It's the perfect size. It's fabulous. So, and a pillow, which is what Robin has. Susanna has the scarf, the quilty scarf. They gave us 2 items, a throw and a pillow, to give away. Verloop, we love you. You have a new collection coming out? Call us. You know, drop us a line. I'll text you back. I'll DM you. I'll get up in your DMs. We really appreciate that. And so at the Sunday social for tier 2 and 3, and there's not that many tier 2 and tier 3. I'm not gonna be coy. This is the news. This is the truth. This is unalloyed news. You know, it's not like we have 100 tier 2 and tier 3 subscribers. I mean, it'd be great. One day we will. But for now, like, you know, like if you are a tier 2 or tier 3 subscriber, like, your chances are great to win one of these things. So that's really exciting, but that's not the only thing. In fact, the Extreme Sunday Social on April 30th, let me tell you what you will see. Okay. So my little Bertha Mextroth project, right? I talked about it last week at some point. Yeah, because we talked about the probate records that I found. If you're just joining us, I'm doing research on this lady whose quilts were lost. She wanted them to stay together after her death, and she willed that in her will. She said so, and she saved money so that all her brilliant quilts could be kept together. But nobody cared, I guess. You know, they split up her quilts, and the quilts were really scattered to the wind, and she was very, very good at making art. And this is a tragedy to me that we don't have a lot of her quilts. Well, so I'm working on this big thing. In 1978, that picture that you're seeing, these ladies here, the picture that you're seeing is from 1976. In 1976, there was an exhibit of Bertha Mextroth quilts. Bertha Mextroth quilts, that many of them, hadn't been exhibited together since 1933 at the Century of Progress exhibit here in Chicago. I'm not going to tell you now like how it happened, but this woman right here, her name is Barbara Benson, and with her sister-in-law, who is this woman, in 1976 they held an exhibit of Bertha Mextroth quilts. How did they get them? Where did they come from? Weren't they lost to time? Yes, they were, but there was an exhibit of 30 or so Bertha Mextroth quilts in the suburbs of Chicago, put on by these ladies who owned a quilt shop called Walrus Quilt Shop. Well, this woman, now in her 80s, is delightful. And I've been talking to her. And on April 29th, I am going to go to her house. Because she's, we've been talking for a while, and she wants to send me all these things from the show. Photographs, exhibit catalogs, other books that she has. She told me it's not just Bertha stuff. In fact, Cake, she has a Baltimore album. Yeah. And I told her, okay, so she has a bunch of quilt stuff, a bunch. And I told her, I said, Barbara, you give me whatever you're comfortable with. She's in her 80s. She told me, she's like, Mary, and she's from the UK, and she's lovely. And she's so nice. And she, and she said, I have all of these things. And I wondered what would happen to it all. And I said, Barbara, it's not just me that you're going to help. It's so many people. Because my friend Stephanie, she's working on William Dunton research, and I mentioned Baltimore album quilts because that's how a lot of people know him. And I was like, the things that you would feel comfortable passing on to me, not only will I share them with my audience, it will help other researchers. It's a ripple effect. She's having, I think it's been it's delayed since we talked before the holidays of her getting me all these materials. And so I said, when we talked on the phone the other day, I said, Barbara, why don't I just come out there? Why don't I just come out and I'll take you to lunch and I'll help you out, because she's got a lot of stuff, you guys. And so we set the date, and I'm going to rent a car, and I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to hang with Barbara Benson. And when I come home in that car, which by the way costs money, that's your subscription dollars at work, I will have stuff that you are going to want to see. I'm going to have, for the Sunday social the next day, an epic haul. Oh yeah. I'm going to go to her house on the 29th. I'm going to come back with stuff, and I'm going to scan in everything I can from the Bertha Meckstroth exhibit. She has pictures of the nun from Barat College who had the quilts, who found the quilts stuffed into a closet at Barat College. She's got pictures of Sister Mary Burke. She's got exhibit catalogs. Well, if you're a tier 2 and tier 3 subscriber, you'll be the first to see this stuff. I won't even have processed everything, mentally, emotionally, psychically, and materially. But I'm going to show you, photographs, books, newspapers. I don't know, but you'll see it. You'll see it on the 30th, because the 30th is, as I said, the Extreme Sunday Social this month. In fact, I'm excited to go to Iowa, but I cannot wait to get back because I get back on the 25th, and that Saturday, bam. I'm so grateful to her. I've been sending her gifts constantly, just like, hi Barbara, hoping to talk to you soon, and here's this Quilt Folk magazine, So that's really cool. So if you've been thinking about upgrading, do it now, because I don't think you want to miss it. Okay. That weekend, there's even more. Oh, and by the way, don't forget, the Verloop giveaway is also that Sunday social. There's a lot going on. There's also something that I am going to let Stephanie Cake speak on. Stephanie Cake, would you tell us what you and Jill Alex, a fellow nerd, are doing the week that same weekend, and why people should just talk a little bit about this, because I've been talking a lot.
Well, Jill's a little cranky because the 30th is a day where we can't necessarily be watching your stream, your Sunday social. We are excited. We will be at the Mid-Atlantic Antiques Festival. Is that that's the right title for it?
I think so.
Jill?
Mm-hmm.
It is in Poolesville, Maryland, so Montgomery County, Maryland, and it's kind of a big deal. I've come to realize it's kind of a big deal down there. I live about an hour north, so it's kind of not in my neighborhood, but still in the same state. In any event, Jill is bringing down her lovely wares from Massachusetts, and she's going to be a vendor there. And because the Cake loves to help, I said I would help, and so we might go live if we can. So if you are available and around on Saturday to maybe see a pop-up stream that nobody expected.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye out.
Yeah.
You might want to turn on the alert on Twitch, which is that little bell underneath the video. And then that way, if we are going live, you'll see it pop up. You'll get a notification. So yeah. And I think that there's a couple people that are in the Poolsville metropolitan area that might stop by. So that's another possibility for us. If one or two nerds come by, we will of course do everything we can to go live, because we like to show off, you know, that you're real people.
Yeah, and
you're not just a bot. You are a real quilt nerd.
It's true. And we've a lot of us have met up in real life, right? IRL. And Jill is an antiques quilt dealer who is making quite the name for herself, of course. And she's a quilt nerd. And you know, getting together IRL, like Cake and Jill met because of this show. Like, you guys know each other because of Quilt Nerd. And so these kinds of relationships really happen when you're in this sort of community. And so Jill is, she's going to this antiques fair, and Cake will be there. And what Cake has, obviously, is like all the login information for the Quilt Nerd Twitch channel. And so if they'll be in a booth, and they'll be at the show. And what we don't want to do, and we talked about all this on Friday, you know, we don't want to set a time, because it's a show. If they're busy, great. Like, you know, be busy. Like, don't say I can't. I gotta stop selling my quilts because I need to go on Quilt Nerd. But it's another reason to subscribe on Twitch, because if you are a subscriber, or if you're just on Twitch, you can set that notification bell, and then when they are able to go live, you'll get a notification, and you can watch, and it'll be, you know, it'll be like at the show. Pardon me, at the show, talking to each other, fun, casual.
Yeah, it'd be totally fun. And yeah, just to make sure there's no confusion, I would be taking over this channel, because I know a guy, I have a password. Yeah, so it would be totally like, I just would take over for, you know, a few minutes and catch you guys up on what fun we're having. And
and it's very possible, I have chip problems. It's very possible that you would find some incredible booth or some kind of wonderful thing, and you'll be able to be there. That's why the live streaming thing is really good, right? Cool. Okay. Pardon me. So, I didn't give you this. Okay. But wait, there's more. Look, it's the news, people. It's a whole thing, because there's so much. So, Jill Alex, once again, she came to me and Robin and and Cake, and she came to us. She has lots of good ideas, and we like that very much. But it was Jill. It was Jill who had ideas, and then also there's this quilt show that's happening. I forget how it happened. I will give you all the credit, Jill. Believe me, I'm just trying to remember how it actually happened. Right now at the American Folk Art Museum in New York City, there is a quilt show called "What That Quilt Knows About Me." Okay. Hey, Wonky. And by the way, yeah, I mean, if you are near the antique show, you should definitely go. If you are in Iowa next week, you should definitely get in touch and come by and say hello. You could be on the show. Any quilt nerd who's like been around for a minute, I mean, just come on the show. Like, you have an open invitation. Yvonne, always, she's up in Wisconsin, not that far away. I want her on the show bad. Lisa Riggs has been on the show. Anyway. So, if you're in any of the vicinities of where we're going to be in the coming 2 months, you should let us know. Because if you want to be on the show, you can be on the show. Anyway, so What That Quilt Knows About Me, the American Folk Art Museum. Here's what the exhibit is, okay? Let me go over here. Okay, so I'll read you about the exhibit in just a second. It's a quilt show at that museum, and that's very exciting. And I want to go to it, and Mom wants to go to it. Last month, we were at the Skirball Cultural Institute, and it was a subscriber-only stream, and we took a gallery tour through the Fabric of a Nation exhibit, a piece of that exhibit, and it was amazing. We got to see all of those quilts together. So Mom and I want to go to this American Folk Art Museum. And see the exhibit, and hopefully live stream, or at least record our visit to then show you all later. Well, Jill Alex said, you know what? I work at the New England Quilt Museum. She's a volunteer over there. The New England Quilt Museum is not too far from New York City. It's in Lowell, Massachusetts. You fly into Boston, you go to Lowell, you go to the New England Quilt Museum, which is one of the preeminent quilt museums in the United States, run by Pam Weeks, who is amazing. So, Mom, who loves Pam Weeks, and Pam Weeks loves Mom, would love the opportunity to see Mom and me. You know, I'm not chopped liver. Okay. Yeah. I love Pam. I have a great deal of respect for her, and she's always been very kind to me. Anyway, so Jill kind of helped broker a deal. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So Mom and I are going to go on. So much happening on the 21st. Hold on. Everybody, hold on. The first thing that happens when we go to New England, we go to the East Coast, okay? The Sunday Social for May, it's at 4 p.m. that day. We'll remind everybody of this, but the Sunday Social will be live from Jill's quilt room. I almost called it her quilt cave, but it seems like a very nice room. Mom and I are going to fly into Boston, and Jill's going to pick us up. And the Sunday Social that day is going to be at Jill's house. She has amazing quilts. We're going to go live from Jill Alex's place and see her quilts. She's going to show us her stuff. And Mom will be there, and I will be there, and Jill will be there. And Cake, if you want to come, you can come there. But you know, that's going to be extremely cool. Jill is a quilt dealer who's making tracks. I mean, people are talking to her. They're asking about, you know, shows that she's doing. She was invited to come to this festival. I mean, she really knows her stuff, and I'm so excited for her, and so proud is weird because, like, I'm not. But, you know, I'm like really, yeah. That's so cool, Jill. And so you, being a quilt nerd, are going to give us like access to your collection, to your wares, your inventory. And so we're going to go live from Jill's place for the Sunday Social. And you could call that extreme. I would say that's pretty extreme. So that's on the 21st. But then.
Hey, Mary, real quick.
If
I remember correctly, because of you and your mom's travels, the 20th, which is a regular show day, is going to be canceled.
No.
Am I right?
Nope.
No, it's not. Oh,
nope,
okay.
It's not. I am doing the show on Saturday the 20th from Chicago. And
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Bad.
Yep, I am doing that, and it's possible that when we had our meeting about it, I might have said that because that was an old schedule, but I will be doing the show on the 20th from Chicago because I'm working for you. It's true, I am. So I'll do the show on Saturday the 20th, normal, but then the next day, the Sunday Social, will be from Jill's place. And then on Monday, we'll be at the New England Quilt Museum, and what we're going to do is a couple things. My mom and Pam are going to have a talk about the state of quilt museums in the United States. They're going to talk about, you know, the Iowa Quilt Museum, the New England Quilt Museum, and we're going to record that. And what we'll record, I'll edit together and put together, and we'll watch it together on a regular Quilt Nerd show. So rather than it being live, we'll record it, this conversation between Pam Weeks and Marianne Fonz, and then watch it together. And I think that's a really great way to do it. And after that's recorded, Pam Weeks will take us through the New England Quilt Museum on a private tour and show us all of the stuff. And she has an exhibit of her own, of her own quilts and things that she'll show us. And we're going to record that, and we'll show it on the show later. Later in the week, the next week. So you're going to get a private tour from the executive director of the New England Quilt Museum with me and Mom and Jill and whoever else wants to show up. But that's pretty cool, and that's like a month from now. Basically a month from now, okay? Once we're done at the New England Quilt Museum, we're taking a train to New York. Me and Marianne and Jill. We're getting on a train that night, and we're going to New York City because we want to see that American Folk Art Museum exhibit. And here's what that Folk Art Museum exhibit is, okay? Did I see Ivy? Ivy Godiva, you want to go? Hey, you know what? You're in Connecticut, right? Maybe you can go. Okay. Maybe you can't go. All right, hold on. Oh, this is... Sorry, okay. But this is the next item. There's so much news. Here's the exhibit, okay? What That Quilt Knows About Me. What That Quilt Knows About Me explores the deeply personal and emotional power associated with the experience of making and living with quilts. The exhibition's title conveys the idea that quilts have the capacity for knowing or containing information about the human experience. Reflecting on this sentiment, the exhibition presents quilts as collections of intimate stories. Spanning from the 19th through 21st centuries, the works on view will reveal a range of poignant and sometimes unexpected biographies. From a pair of enslaved sisters in antebellum Kentucky to a convalescent British soldier during the Crimean War, the exhibition explores stories associated with both the makers and recipients of the works. On a quilt from the 1890s, we find a surface bursting with narratives. In an example by Hystercine Rankin, a grid of small vignettes depict scenes of family life defined by faith and toil. The exhibition also explores how artists have continually drawn inspiration from and pushed the boundaries of quilt making to incorporate surprising materials and ideas, inviting audiences to consider these objects as archives of personal human experiences. Dingda McCannon's Mary Lou Williams, a quilt-like work, is created with paint, photographs, and fibers as a tribute to the jazz musician and cultural environment of Harlem. Jesse Dunaboo uses plastic bags and yarn to evoke quilt-like coverings that swathe the interior surfaces of his home. So, and then it's curated by such and so forth. Okay, but that's not all. No, it's not all. Now, the reason it says pending there, don't be afraid. Here, this is what I want to show you. So this is a detail shot of a quilt by none other than Paula Nadelstern. We've talked a little bit about Paula on the show. We will talk more about her. Hopefully, she'll be on the show. Paula lives in the Bronx. She's been a New Yorker as long as I've known her or even known of her, but she lives in the Bronx, and she and Mom are friends too, and I'm friends with her too. I mean, we don't like chat on the phone, but I really care about Paula because she's amazing, and she's like one of the names I heard growing up, and then finally I met her eventually, you know. I was like, oh my God, Paula Nadelstern. This quilt that you see, it's a detail shot, like I mentioned. This is in the show. This quilt is in the show. Paula has a quilt in the show. In fact, the American Folk Art Museum's website, the thing about the show, Paula's quilt is featured in that on the front page. Well, Paula has been working her magic, and I don't have an answer yet, and so that's why I have question marks and pending and so forth. I've asked the Folk Art Museum through Paula and her connections there to ask them if we could go live on Tuesday the 23rd while the museum is closed, in my understanding. Or if we could go live for you all, for subscribers, this is a subscriber thing. This is really, really hot. Like maybe you live in Montana. I mean, it's a long way to New York City, man. And a quilt exhibit like this doesn't happen that often. I mean, the last time the American Folk Art Museum did a big quilt exhibit, I mean, I kind of know it in my mind, but I mean, it's been a while. It's definitely been 10 years, probably. When you're part of this community, like, cool stuff is happening, and so we will go to that exhibit and with Paula. She's down. So we're working with her people to get access to the museum while it's closed, either before it opens or after it opens, or while it's closed for the day. And I can tell you, however, that if that doesn't happen, Mom and I, and hopefully Paula, will still go to the exhibit, take pictures, maybe even get a little video, and you will see on the regular show, you know, the exhibit. But I feel confident with our reputation for being really great at live streaming from museums: International Quilt Museum, Iowa Quilt Museum, Skirball Institute, Czech Cultural Center in New York City. Like, I dropped all those names. You know, you can trust Quilt Nerd to come to your gallery and really enjoy it and show people what you're doing. And anyway, so we'll see. Things are, they're happening, and hopefully we'll be with you all live on the 23rd. The subscribers to Quilt Nerd will get a real treat. and Paula will be there. Like, oh my God, kind of cool, right? We're almost there. We're almost done. The last thing, this is the news item. It's the second to last thing. There's no show Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, because I'll be getting back from New York and filming the workshop and stuff. So if, you might not need to write this down, or maybe you will. But Saturday the 27th, like, I'm going to take Memorial Day weekend and just, like, chill. It's a lot of activity. There's a lot coming up, and there's so much going on with regular work anyway, with Quilt Folk and the Foundry and everything. So no show on Memorial Day weekend. Everybody eat some hot dogs, kick back. You know what I mean? And the last thing, and I'll have more details for you later, there's one more news item. I'm going to Lincoln, Nebraska in June, and I'm going to be doing stuff with Just Wanna Quilt. And a lot of you know and love Just Wanna Quilt, the podcast, the community, the Facebook group is like, I don't know, like thousands and thousands of people. Elizabeth Townsend Guard is a good friend of mine, and she's teaching a class in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we care about Lincoln, Nebraska because it's the International Quilt Museum is there. And Elizabeth is a law professor at Tulane University, and she's teaching in Lincoln for the University of Nebraska. So I'm going to go down there while she's there, and we're going to do stuff. We're going to live stream. We're going to, we're going to hang out. We're going to do stuff. We're going to do stuff, and you'll be there. And I'm going to see all the Bertha Meckstroth quilts that are there at the museum while I'm there. So it's a research trip, and it's a friend trip, and it's a dual hangout trip with the Just Wanna Quilt community. So there's that's it. That's the all right. I'm gonna do this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching Quilt Nerd News. It needed, right? There's so much, it needed its own segment, and I am so excited about all the stuff. And it starts on Monday, it starts on Tuesday when I'm live from Iowa next week. So, God, doing the news is hard. And there was no opinion piece in there, it was just facts. So think about if you had to try to, spin things. Okay, so that's the scoop. I hope everybody, oh my gosh, Jan could meet up in Lincoln? That's awesome. Padma, that's right. There's so much going on. It's really intense. I am so hot. I am really hot. Myra, this is awesome. I agree. Yeah, I'm super hot. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the cake break, and then I'm gonna come back, and the thing we're gonna do tonight, Hystercine Rankin. She was mentioned in the American Folk Art Museum exhibit, right? Hystercine Rankin is incredible. She's passed away now. We're gonna watch a Craft in America video from Ms. Rankin that was focused on her. We're going to look at that together and look at a couple quilts by her. You need to know who she is. She's been on the list for a long time to cover. This Craft in America episode is about 8 minutes, and it's so great. Let's see, is that right? Well, there's two. Anyway, there's two videos, and I've got a few images from a couple books that I have. So that's what we're going to do after the cake break. And then when we see the quilt that's hanging at the Folk Art Museum, it will be all the more impactful to you because you will know a little bit more about this woman and her life and her art. So that's what we're going to do after we hear from Cake. So, all right, Cake, are you ready for this? Are you ready to chat with us? Tell us about your research project that we... Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's do it right now. Okay. I might still be on camera. Yeah, I am. Oh, my green screen. How embarrassing. It's like my panties are showing when my green screen is off, It's like my panties are tucked into my pants or something.
Your dress
skirt
is tucked into the back of your panties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh no, look at this. Watch. Okay, now I'm gonna. Oh no. There we go. Yeah, I did it. Okay. So you know what? For people who don't know, Cake, tell people what the Dunton Report is, right? Like why we learn from week to week and about what you're doing, and tell us what it is and why. Okay? Yeah, great.
Yeah, so the Dunton Report, because I am a nerd like the rest of you, I got really interested in Dr. William Rush Dunton by way of my interest in Baltimore album quilts, because I just think Baltimore album quilts are really cool, and my mom was really into them. She took classes from Ellie Sienkiewicz, who is a pretty well-known quilter who makes Baltimore album quilts. Mimi Dietrich is another person, and I've touched base with her on some of the stuff too. So Dr. Dunton back, oh gosh, it started in the early 20th century, like 1916, he got into quilts, and he was a psychiatrist who believed in everybody kind of having a quote unquote occupation, which is what led to him to create a huge body of work in the occupational therapy world. He's considered the father of occupational therapy, but I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. In any event, I've been doing a deep dive into him because he's really a fascinating person. And just the fact that this man who, for like no other logical reason, was so into quilts, not just because he thought that needlework and quilting was beneficial to his patients, his, people that were suffering from quote unquote nervous conditions is what they called it back then. So I just really got interested in what he was doing. So that has led me to just nerd out on everything that this man did. And I've also been lucky enough to get into the Baltimore Museum of Art, where his collection is held. And I live outside of Baltimore, so it's been pretty easy for me to get there. And that's it's been exciting. But then, as you go deeper and deeper into research, and of course, those of you that are researchers, I'm preaching to the choir here, but you go off into all these tangents, right? You find out things and you're like, what is going on with this? And sometimes it brings you back to something really interesting about your main topic, and sometimes it takes you like way off into this other rabbit hole. So Flintster, I know he is referred to the father of occupational therapy, but I think he shares it with maybe 6 other people. And I have a picture that proves it. There were actually people that were kind of considering occupational therapy, and restoration was another concept. And occupational therapy is interesting because I actually knew an occupational therapist. I was part of an art group, and she was there, and she would sometimes talk about her work. And I thought of occupational therapy as being like, an elderly person who's maybe had a stroke, and they need to learn how to, either learn a different way of doing their daily tasks, or, maybe need some type of adaptive equipment. That's what I thought of as occupational therapy. And that is part of occupational therapy. But, it can be a body thing, like if you have an injury or, something with your body that doesn't work. Yes, absolutely. Soldiers returning from war in a Flintster. Thank you. The soldiers were definitely a big piece of it, because they had suffered, terrible, grievous bodily injury, World War I, and then also World War II. And I mean, honestly, if we're going to really go back, the 1800s were also full of that, people getting injured. So occupational therapy was for them, but it was also because Dr. Dunton was a psychiatrist and a neurologist. He also found it useful for people, not necessarily who have any type of bodily injury, but who have the injuries of the mind that they either need distraction from, or they need to reframe. And, these days, if you have ever been involved in any type of therapy, you may have learned about, cognitive behavioral therapy and all of the different modes that modern therapists use, whether they're occupational therapists or, mental health therapists or whatever. So long story, I'm rambling here, but the long story short is the things Dr. Dunton espoused, and I mean, we're talking again, like 1916, 1920s, he wrote a bunch of textbooks and articles. The stuff that he talked about in his belief system stands up today. And I think that is why the occupational therapy field really looks at him versus some of the other people that started the profession around him, because his textbooks and all of his writings have really stood up. And I've read some of his stuff, and I'm thinking, like, this could be a person today that was writing this. It's not, some of the things he says might be a little problematic. He calls the women that were part of his treatment, he calls them his nervous ladies. And I think there's a much nicer way to refer to women that are probably suffering from depression and anxiety. But, I think he took sort of a paternalistic attitude towards his patients at times. But he really, from everything I've read, he was such a gentle, nice, caring man who really, really cared about his patients, and also had all of these incredible passions himself. And I suspect, I can't find it written anywhere, but I suspect that his own struggles, possibly his wife's struggles, or his first wife's struggles, may have had something to do with this idea that everybody needs something to keep them busy, some type of hobby, some type of, thing that kind of takes them out of their present. And so, I think that was maybe kind of the thought process behind finding something for his patients to do, whether it was sewing and quilting, woodworking. He found ways for them to learn weaving, rug hooking, all kinds of stuff. So that is why Dunton. And I think I probably took much longer to say that than I should have. But this past week has been a little bit Dunton light. So I don't have a whole lot of stuff to report, but I can tell you about a Quilt World contemporary of Dunton's. And the reason why I fell down this rabbit hole is because Dunton, right? So I'm researching him, and I know that he was very interested in the women that were publishing about quilting at the time. And basically, Marie Webster is one of the earlier, the colonial revival period of the early 20th century was kind of like this look at like this revival of quilts. And this is the era that Dunton is working in. And so Marie Webster, Ruth Finley, Carrie Hall, Florence Petto was a little bit later, but these are the women that were publishing books about the colonial revival of quilting.
They're kind of gangs. Sorry.
Ruth Finley is one of the early books, and her book is called Old Patchwork Quilts and the Women Who Made Them. Well, as I'm researching Ruth Finley, I could not find where she and Dr. Dunton corresponded at all. Now, I could find where he corresponded with Marie Webster. He corresponded with a couple of other people that, we know their names. But so I'm searching and searching. Does Ruth Finley have papers somewhere? Like, is there a university that's keeping her stuff?
Cool.
A little bit of a question mark. I need to do a little bit of deeper research. But along the way, I find out some incredible stuff about Ruth Finley. Now I think there's been a lot of writing and research on Ruth Finley, but I feel like this could be such a great research project for somebody who just wants to drop into research and kind of start to get, like, it's low hanging fruit, but it would be a really fun project for somebody who's, kind of getting into this world.
Yeah.
So Ruth Finley was actually a journalist.
Really?
And I mean, like, a pretty well-known journalist at the time. Yeah. And
you're saying she could be on Quilt Nerd News. Is that what you're saying?
She could.
Oh, okay.
She could.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you would be saying, like, and now, over to you, Ruth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so if those of you that are into Victorian era, like the dark and dismal Victorian era of the U.S., you might have heard of Nellie Bly. She's a contemporary. She's a contemporary of Ruth Finley. And Nellie went in, and I'm drawing a complete blank on the name of the sanitarium. But she basically got herself into this women's sanitarium in New York City to prove the fact that these sanitariums were horrible places. And if I remember correctly, she had a hard time getting out.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, like, you get yourself committed, and then you're telling people, like, look, this was a mistake, I'm not crazy. And they're saying to you, oh, but that's exactly what a crazy person would say. So yeah, they really get you. So anyway, Nellie Bly went undercover to prove this. Well, Ruth Finley did something very similar. She went undercover as basically like the help. She became a person, and I guess at the early 19th, it would be like a person in like service, a servant, basically to the wealthy. And she went in as like a cook or a chambermaid or something like that, and was writing all of these really interesting, like, breaking journalistic pieces about, being an undercover servant. And to me, it kind of reminded of like Undercover Boss. Right. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, that show.
But then, wait for it, Ruth Finley and her husband wrote a book under aliases, and I forgot to look it up before the show, but there was a woman doing research like many, like decades later that uncovered it. Like, they kept a secret. This secret probably went past their deaths, and it was not uncovered until they were dead. The book is called Our Unseen Guest, and it is written by people named Darby and Joan, and you can find this book. I got it from a book, so it's not expensive. So Our Unseen Guest by Darby and Joan, and it is about a ghost named Stephen.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Turns out Ruth and her husband were at a party and played with the Ouija board, and that's how they met Stephen.
I mean,
and they wrote this book.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, are they serious? Have you seen it? You've seen it, yeah.
Absolutely.
They had a ghost in their house.
Serious.
Wow.
Yes.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. Ruth Finland. I mean,
and the reason that they published under these aliases is because they were very worried that, and I can't remember what he did, what Mr. Finley did. I think it was something important. It was, he was well known, and she, of course, is a journalist, and they were like, if we write about this under our names, people are going to call us crazy. But they were very interested in the whole spiritualism movement, which was big.
Oh,
at
yeah.
the turn of the century. Late Victorian and into the early 20th century. So, like the Fox sisters, they were the spiritualists, all that.
Yeah.
So, yes, Ruth Finley and her husband were into this. Is that not wild? And they kept it a secret for so many decades.
And they named their ghost Stephen. Well, maybe they didn't name him.
Well, no. I think he said his name was Stephen.
Well, yeah, probably.
I've only gotten through, like, the first chapter. Because I just haven't had time.
Our Ghost, what is it called?
It's called Our Unseen Guest.
Our Unseen Guest.
Unseen Guest by Darby and Joan.
Darby and Joan. You know what I think about? I think about, like, what was their discussion? Like, what do you want your nom de plume to be, darling? And it's like, I've always seen myself as a Darby. Or like, I love your derby, honey. I love your derby hat. Maybe Derby. No, Darby. Like, I don't know. I just think, people are just normal. Even Ruth Finley, she's just normal. But to write a book and get it published about their ghost that they have, like, that's so interesting. That's so great. And this is a perfect example of, like, you look into quilts and then you go into something else and you go into something else. And all of a sudden you're, like, thinking about that interesting time of spiritualism and Victorian America, Victorian era in America, and people were doing these seances, and they were doing this, and photography was sort of more it wasn't totally, ubiquitous, but like the exposure thing, and you could make these ghostly images, and people were doing, seances and veils and things. It's fabulous. It's so goth. It's like who's goth out there? Like, this is your source material. It could be,
Right,
that and 9 Inch Nails. Yeah.
And what I think is crazy is, like, every time I look into one of the people that is associated with Downton, or just really anybody in this time period, it's like, holy cow.
Yep.
You just uncover these crazy things. I mean, I've already talked a little bit in other shows about some of the other characters, the cast of characters in Downton's Circle, but yeah, I mean, who knew? Ruth Finley, I'm just thinking, she's just this nice lady that wrote a book about quilts, and she did some nifty stuff with journalism, but these folks, I am boring, absolutely boring in comparison to these people.
And that's the thing, and that's one. This is a great thank you, Cake, for the report, because the thing is the the thing is, and I've often talked about this. This was the background quilt last time, but I've often said like quilters. I guess anybody who has a really strong hobby, like. Maybe you're a Trekkie, or you're a, Hobbit person, or Lord of the Rings, whatever. It's like, people are people, and Quilt Folk has always wanted to tell the story of the whole quilter. Quilters, like, we're into stuff, but we're also into all this other stuff. And Ruth Finley had a life beyond, like, I am a person who wrote a book about quilts. Like, she wrote a book with her husband about the ghost that they have. Like, I don't know. It's just cool. Like, it's just really cool. Like, we have lots of interests, and we have lots of things that we do. And also, I have that, even though, like, I do this and I look at this stuff all the time. Like, I have a life, and, like, I even have a social life. Imagine that. Don't have as much time for it as I probably would. I make time. But yeah, like, we all do different stuff, and like we were into the things that we're into because we believe in it. We believe that, like, doing research on stuff actually matters, just because if nobody's doing research on anything, that thing will probably die. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's like,
I also think I like your comment about knowing the whole quilter.
Yeah.
I really think, Dr. Dutton was not a quilter; he was a collector. But I really think when you have a more well-rounded understanding of who the person was, I mean, as much as you can.
Totally.
Obviously, people that are long dead, it's really hard to reconstruct who they were, but it gives you, like, a little bit of clue into the decisions they made. Like, why would the person choose to do X, Y, Z? And then you find out, it's because of this interest or this thing that happened to them.
Whoops, sorry. Yes, I mean, there's always, I liked an author I read one time said, we all have exquisite reasons for doing what we do at any given time, especially, anyway, it was a self-help book. Anyway, so, Anyway, but exquisite reasons. We all have exquisite reasons. I mean, if you're moved to write a book about a ghost in your house, you've got exquisite reasons for doing that. Okay, so here we are. We're back. We're going to close out this show, or we're going to get the rest of this going. I wanted to show you this. This is really funny. So AI, it's on everyone's lips, right? Well, when I use a program to help me make those slides, right? for the news report. And they have a new thing for Canva. It's canva.com. And if you don't know Canva and you need to make thumbnails for anything or do anything, Canva, sponsor. Please, Canva, sponsor. I use you all the time. I love you. It's a woman founded the company. They're based in New Zealand. It's amazing. It's amazing. And anyway, they have a new AI generated thing. They're like, what kind of presentation do you want to make? Type in a few words. Seriously, Cake. If you go into the Canva, it's type in what kind of presentation you want to make, and we'll try to make a template for you. And I was like, cool. I need to make a news report. So I was I typed in. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, I meant to show myself. Oh yeah. I typed in make. An upcoming live stream, or it was upcoming live stream schedule or something. And among the terrible, I love it. It's so cool. But among the pretty gnarly things that it gave me, there was this. And I was like, wow. I could go this way with the template. I love that timer. It looks like Bakelite. I'm into it, but I did not go this way, everybody. I decided to do the anchor desk. But upcoming live streaming, really anything upcoming, if you put that little timer into your graphic, I don't think you can lose. I want to thank Earth Girl Now, by the way, who subscribed at Tier 1. You have been subscribed for over a year, 14 months. I really, really, really appreciate you. By the way, if Peace Love Puppies is watching, girl. I have a giveaway. You won a book months ago, and it's right over there, and it's the only thing I need to ship. So if you're watching, if you catch this, we still need your address. So make sure you send it, okay? Because I'd love to send you your book and your card. And Kitty Hannah subscribed at Tier 1. You've been subscribed as long as Earth Girl Now. Actually, 1 month longer, 15 months. Kitty Hannah, we love you. This is your community. You're in, you're in here. Niflinser, I just saw your name, so I wanted to say hi. So Penny Catherine, hi. So here we go. Yeah, Canva is great. Hey, Michael. Okay, so let's transition here. So in the American Folk Art Museum exhibit is a quilt by Miss Hystercine Rankin. This is the lady, and the first time I was exposed to her work was in this book, which if you do not have, I don't know, I think somebody Marcia might be able to keep track of the books that I say, you really do have to have this book, because I say that a lot on this show. If you have one book in your library, you should have this one. But I know I've said it before with Communion of the Spirits, but if you don't have this book, you have to get it. If you're a quilt nerd who, I don't know, you gotta have it. You gotta have it because it's really important and beautiful. And I saw this quilt in this book. Hang on. Yeah. Wait a minute. There's a couple. Yeah. This quilt hurt my very soul. Yeah, it did. And I want to, there's a content warning that's fair, I guess. Yeah. I'll give you a content warning. The quilt that we're looking at, I'm going to read you the text. I'm going to read what's in this book about this quilt. But there is violence portrayed in this quilt, and there's a story that is grisly and tragic, and it's very painful, this story. So I just want to let you know we're going from fun news and things like that, to something else. And so that's what's happening, because I wanted to talk about Hystercine because she has a quilt in that show, and the more you know about this person, the more you will be excited to see that quilt that we see when we see that. Okay, so hang on, got this here. So this book by Roland Freeman was published in 1996. And here's what he writes about master quilter Hystercine Rankin. I'm gonna read this. Well, no, hang on. Maybe I'm not. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Okay. There's a fairly long passage from, and I'll zoom in on this quilt so you can see things here. But I'll skip a little bit because it's a pretty long talk with her, and I just, you could get the book and you can read it all. But I'll begin and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so master quilter Hystercine Rankin. The certain exhibit that Roland Freeman is talking about, he's talking about a quilt competition in 1991. It doesn't matter really, but it says the 1990 quilt competition was special because it served as a time to recognize the senior quilter in residence, Hystercine Rankin, who had recently won the Mississippi hold on, sorry. Arts Commission's Susan B. Heron Fellowship. I felt very proud to have played even a minor role in helping her receive this $5,000 award. One evening at dinner, while chatting with her and her husband, Ezekiel Rankin, an incredible story of her family began to unfold. Both Hystercine and Ezekiel came from a long line of proud, independent, and strong-willed people in Jefferson County, Mississippi. Mrs. Rankin's great-great-grandmother was part Indian and partnered an African slave. I'm going to go to some pictures of her, okay? This man and his 11 and 12-year-old sons were conscripted to the Confederate Army to dig trenches, carry water, and gather wood. All three of them were killed during the siege of Vicksburg in 1863. Her great-grandfather, Joseph January, was the youngest child of that union, and although he barely remembered his father, he passed on stories his mother told him. As the three of us sat in Ms. Rankin's kitchen, I studied her face as she sorted through a bag of scrap material to add to the quilt top she was piecing. I didn't want to upset her, but I was very curious about Daddy Joe. So I asked whether anyone had so he's talking about the story that Ms. Rankin told him. And hold on. I want to get to the story of this quilt, and there's more backstory. I mean, it's quite long, and that doesn't bother me. But like I want to get to this video from Craft in America. Okay. So I'm going to skip ahead to the story of this quilt, and I'm going to read this to you now. And this is the part. It's very sad, and I'll read this to you, and then we'll see if we can find something else in this book that tells us more. This is what is on the quilt. On April 2nd, 1939, at 8 o'clock, Farrell Humphrey killed my father, Denver Gray, age 33, on Highway 20, near Union Church, Mississippi. As long as I live, I will never forget that morning. He sent me to the spring to get a bucket of water, but he didn't wait to get the water. As I went to dip the water, I heard the 4 shots that killed my father. Wasn't nothing did about it. They didn't even arrested him. As I came back to the house, Farrell Humphrey's son was standing in front of the steps. He said, if you want, Denver, he is in the middle of the road. Mother said, Lord have mercy. She didn't have anyone to go and pick him up. He stayed there until a log truck came and picked him up and brought him to the house. Mother buried him the next day. Blocks was afraid to come to the funeral. So this is a story quilt of the death of her father, who was shot dead in the street, and left there. And she made this quilt to tell the story of this. The other part of the quilt that has this writing on it says, hold on. Says, my father left 8 children. Ernestine Gray, 12. Juanita Gray, 12. Hystercine Gray, 10. Gory Gray, 8. Vera Gray, 6. Walter Gray, 4. Wilbert Gray, 2. Lovey Gray, 6 weeks. So in this Freeman book, it says, she says of her father, he was a man who didn't cow down to white folks, and people thought he was crazy, because if he saw a white man bothering anybody colored, he'd stop him. They didn't like that. Mama got transferred to another school closer to Fayette, a one-room school that went to the 8th grade. But Daddy rented a house near the school so she wouldn't have far to walk every morning. And that's where it all happened. We were sitting on the front porch, and Daddy sent me down to the spring to get him some water. I must have went playing or something, and when I came back, he was gone. He just went down the road. I guess death was on him, because he didn't wait to get his water. I was 10 years old, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. Just as I went to dip some water, I heard some shots. But I thought it was somebody hunting because it was way back behind the house. When I got back to the house with the water, that young white Humphrey boy was standing there, and he said to my mama, Lula, if you want Denver, he's down the road. We were about a quarter mile off the road up on a hill. Mama cried out, Lord have mercy. She didn't have no way to get Daddy from the road, and Denver laid there for 3 hours until a lumber truck came through. They picked my Daddy up and brought him to the house, and we all gathered round him until my grandparents came. They stayed up with him all night. Grandmother Gray went and got a casket. They put him in it and put it on a wagon, and we all walked to the cemetery. The cemetery was right near the woods, and black folks was scared to come because they thought the white people were going to come and shoot them too, and the rest of us. It was just us family put my Daddy in the ground. It was the feral Humphrey that did it. He's the one that shot my Daddy down in the road. My Daddy must have been trying to get to him because he shot him 4 times in the chest. We ain't never known how many there were when this happened, but we do know that feral Humphrey went around bragging he killed this uppity. And Granddaddy Gray, who was a real proud man, took his other 4 sons who had come here from Brookhaven, and they drove down there to the old Caddo store in Union Church. They tell me all these white folks were standing there like buzzards on a cow, waiting to see what would happen. He went right up to that store and told his boys not to get out of the car. I'm going in and let Paul Cato and all these other rednecks know they're not going to scare me out of here. You see, those Catos already cheated his daddy out of a bunch of land, but didn't nothing happen. So I want to go to this Craft in America video so you can learn a little bit more about her. To me, this this quilt is, well, I mean, it's one of the quilts that when I opened this book, Communion of the Spirits, I don't know, it changed like quilts for me. Like, I don't know, like it really did. I was like, quilts can be fearless in their design and in their message. She's not trying to send a message, I think, Hystercine Rankin in that quilt. She's telling a story. It's a story quilt, but I don't know. Quilts are interesting to me because of quilts like that, you know. And she makes other quilts that are Yeah, that are similar, that tell the story of her, and this is her. It's called Memories by maybe Hystercine, but this is her life on the farm, picking cotton with my brother, getting drinking water, taking cotton to the gin, churning butter. Look at this, churning butter, and baking biscuits. That's so great. A quilt, a pictorial quilt. I can't do it. It's so good. Getting drinking water from spring. That's what it says. Getting drinking water from spring, taking cotton to gin. Love those animals. So it's scenes from life. And in the Folk Art Museum exhibit, there's this, and the Rankin quilt that they have is in a lot of the materials, the marketing materials. Dado and Mama chopping cotton. Dada cooling water under a something tree. Oh, making syrup. Sweet. Okay. So yeah, pretty cool. All right, I've got this video, and we're gonna check it out. And it is. Hold on. Okay, great. Here. Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna chime in and say,
please.
I think these kind of quilts are so important. You know, I mean, maybe it could have been written about in the newspaper about the death of her father. Mm-hmm. At that time, it certainly wouldn't have been documented in a way that was very. I mean, it would have been very one-sided. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that she made that quilt and that we can see it, because then we know like the real story or the rest of the story. And I think that's important. And especially in marginalized communities. And,
yep.
I think there's a lot of that in this book, I have that book too,
yeah.
Comedian of Spirit.
Yeah.
And it's such a great book, but it's, it's documentation of things that would not otherwise be, those stories would be not told.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
It is. It's really important. It's so important. There are stories in cloth, and we use the word story in quilts and like stories in the stitches, and it kind of becomes something we say, but it's really true. And the story quilt tradition. And I would genuinely ask anybody out there, what story do you want to tell in a quilt? What do you want to tell? You could tell it. I should take my own advice, like what story should I tell, right, Cake? It's like, aren't we glad that these story quilts exist? Yeah. Well, gotta make them, If you don't make them, they're not gonna tell that story in that way. All right, so this is from Craft in America, PBS. There's so much to this particular episode, but let's watch this first from Miss Rankin. Okay. It's 2 minutes, 33 seconds.
You just sit and nobody around you. When you're quilting and you make your sewing on the machine, make your blocks, which I sewed at first. The fingers. You had to first learn them stitches with your fingers before you put a stitch in a quilt. I would lay them out. It may take me 30 or 40 minutes to get my steps like I'm on if it's court. We're talking about the log cabin, but I'm going to the courthouse steps. And I would get all of that together. And then I'd put together now. I'm going to have it in the frame tomorrow evening when I come in. And I worked Saturday night till 12 o'clock. He's sick of my husband. He walking up in the front. He said, "Is she going to work till Sunday?" "Oh, no, Lord, I ain't going to work till Sunday." But I'd come in Sunday evening from church, and he's in the back room, and he's our colors that I'm going to use tomorrow evening when I come in from working at Culture Crossroad. But your joy was, oh, Lord, that quilt. It was, and if I was in church and looked down and see a square I hadn't seen before, and when I get home, I'm going to remember that square. And I was journeying together, whatever I see. If I walk in a hospital and see something would help put a new pattern to me, I would come home and get it. And
you would look in the world and ideas would come.
yeah, something that would give you time.
The interviewer said you'd look in the world and the ideas would come. We look at that a lot, right? We talk about that. But yeah.
Up when you get home. And when I worked at the schools with the children, the baddest children that would be in the classroom, I would bring him by me and give him my needle and thread. He was working with them, learning him how to make a square, a stitch or something. That would be one of your best children, the one you take up more time and love with. Some of them been born, but it was the love I had for them. And when they get through, I tell them, you beat them all. Beat them all. And see, that's the class for the teacher. She'd be saying, how you get him to sit down and sew on it? I said, cause I love him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. We're going to watch something else. Wow. So I can, by the way, put that in the chat if you want to share that on your social media. Yeah. I would give the kid who was being the baddest, the bad kid, give him a needle and thread. By the way, Ivana, thank you so much that's for Hystercine and just everything. Thank you for subscribing at tier 3. You've been subscribed at tier 3. I just lost for 18 months you've been a subscriber and you're on a 10-month streak at tier 3. I really, really appreciate you. And here's one other thing about Hystercine, Rankin, and then I'm gonna actually give you the link to watch the whole piece on Hystercine. This is Patty Crosby, who runs the Cultural Crossroads program, or did for some time in Mississippi. And she speaks about Hystercine and the power of her work. Now, there's a giveaway to do for Ivana's quilt, and here's the thing, Ivana. I'm gonna hold it until I'm in Winterset. I'm gonna hold it till Tuesday, and the reason I'm gonna do that, and I know that I know, we talked about this when we had our meeting on Friday, and Ivana, I didn't think about it until yesterday, but I'd really love my mom to draw for it, and just sort of really make it an event. Last show, Ivana, who's a professional long armer, who's extremely good, and I just encourage everybody to talk to Ivana about their long arming needs. She's really special, and she has a history of being really generous with her time and her skills for this show. And last show, she donated a long arming service to a lucky winner of this show, and so a lucky subscriber to this show, and we were gonna do the giveaway tonight. We talked about doing it tonight, but I want to do it in Iowa because I want my mom to draw it. And I talk to my mom all the time, and I tell her about the community, and I tell her about the people who are here and who support the show, and just what the vibe is, and she knows because she shows up. And I was like, Ivana gave away a long arming service, and she was like, really? She did? And I was like, yeah. So let's do it on Tuesday. Because it just, I don't know, feels right. And I'm excited to go to Iowa, and I want to I don't know. I'm excited to work with my mom again. And I don't know. I want to do it then. I hope it's okay. So if you're a subscriber to the show on Tuesday night, my mom's going to draw, and maybe she'll draw your name. And so we'll do that. So thank you, Ivana, and thanks for, I don't know, everybody. Thanks for, I'm in kind of a contemplative mood now. We had all that news, and then now we're learning about Hystercine, and so let's. Patty Crosby was, at the time of this filming, was the director of the Mississippi Cultural Crossroads, and she is going to speak about Hystercine, Rankin. It's a very short video, but she does a great job of kind of telling us more about this particular woman. And by the way, Hystercine won the national Endowment for the Arts Award. I mean, this person, before she passed away, was highly decorated, honored, for her work in art. And she worked in the quilt medium. And so she was thankfully recognized in her time as being really important to the quilt story. And the quilt that is hers, that's in the Folk Art Museum exhibit right now, is viewable on her website. And I just encourage you to go there and take a look at it, because the more people who, I want to show you stuff on the show, but the more people who go to the Folk Art Museum website, the more people who go to any quilt museum that's having any show, the more clicks you have. All of this stuff, all of this stuff is viewable. It's analytics, right? And the more people who go to quilt shows, the more people who want to live stream from quilt shows, the more activity you get online, the more likely it is that another place will have a quilt show. So how cool would it be? How cool would it be if one day I can say to a potential, live stream like an exhibit, a museum that's having a quilt exhibit, how cool would it be for me to be hi, my name's Mary Fonz. I'm creator and host of a show called Quilt Nerd. We have, there's millions of quilters in America. What if I could say, we have 50,000 subscribers? I'm just saying, I'm going to wear Gucci. Cake's going to wear Gucci. She's going to fly in for every show. I hate Gucci, but if Cake likes it, we're going to wear it. But we would be, we have 50,000 subscribers to Quilt Nerd, and here's what we do. And could we have an event at your museum? You know what I mean? Seriously. So go to the Folk Art Museum website. Definitely tune in if we're there, or just go to see the shows as much as you can, because the more shows that you go to, the more money the museums get, and then they can do more. You know what I mean? Okay, that was my little public service announcement. What do you want to wear? When we have 50,000 subscribers, what do you want to wear?
I am sadly not much of a fashionista. I probably, even if I was absolutely filthy rich, would still wear the t-shirts and tracksuits I wear now.
Girl, that's legit. You're Cake. You're Cake, man. You don't wear Gucci because whatever. Yeah. I'll take that one for the team. I'll suffer through that. Okay. Anyway, all right. So let's listen to this, and then we'll sign off for the night. Okay.
Years ago, Mrs.
Oops,
Rankin
sorry.
received.
Hang on. I love y'all. Thank you so much.
A number of years ago, Mrs. Rankin received the National Heritage Award from the National Endowment for the Arts. This is an award that's given every year to about 10 traditional artists in this country. And it's really a wonderful award. Mrs. Rankin and her daughter Regina flew to Washington, and I went along, and there was an evening where people who didn't have their work, actually, I think we did have some quilts. I know we had slides. Quilts are kind of bulky to deal with. But there was a program where the performers who were getting an award performed, and people said nice things, and slides up in the air. And then the next day we went to the White House, and Hillary Clinton and Jane Alexander presented the awards to Mrs. Rankin and the other people who had gotten them that year. I probably shouldn't say this on tape, but I have a love-hate relationship with the federal government in this country. I think a lot of times they do things that I wish they wouldn't do in my name. But I really felt, as part of that couple of days with those traditional artists in Washington, that sometimes we do things right in this country.
Indeed.
And honoring people who make things with
Absolutely.
their hands out of the traditions that they grew up with, I think is one of them.
Yes.
All of those people I would like to have known better. And that goes off pretty much too for the people I met who work with them, because most artists don't work alone, at least traditional artists don't work alone. So it really was kind of wonderful. You'd have to ask Mrs. Rankin, but it's a $10,000 prize, and that's a significant amount of money for most people, and certainly for most traditional artists.
Wow. So, Craft in America, I gave the link there in the chat. Watch the rest. Yeah, and by the way, just FYI, if anybody comes across I should say this all the time. If anybody comes across any video, like is there a Hystercine Rankin, like let me put this thing back. Is there a is there an interview? Are you in Mississippi? Do you live, or like any kind of media you find that you would want to share with Quilt Nerd, like under fair use and educational content and all that stuff, like we can view a lot of this stuff together on this show safely. Obviously, like YouTube stuff, like anyway, like it's okay. But if you ever come across any video or something, let me know, and maybe I can get in touch with the people who own that, the library who has it or something. Like I would love a long interview with that woman, and it's not on YouTube. And when I search for videos of Hystercine Rankin, like I don't find anything. But you never know. I don't know. If you find interesting things, for sure, let me know, because I can share it with other people via this program, So anyway, everybody, thank you so much. I think it was a great show. We had a lot of news updates. It was different than a normal show because we were doing our news broadcast, but there's just so much happening, and announcements are fine, but I feel like the next month and a half kind of warranted a little bit of focus on all the things. So Stephanie Cake, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm telling you.
For doing what you do.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Can't do it alone. Little badger going around. Okay. I don't know. Take care. Please be safe out there, and take care of yourself. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Just do it for the rest of your life. Or don't do it. And I'll see you on Tuesday in Iowa. And I'll get that Marianne Fonz. I'll wrangle her over there. Jill Alex, thank you, by the way, for all the stuff you're doing to help us make the thing. Quilt Tops by Ivana, God bless you. I love you so much, and I will, I'll be talking to you, be talking to all y'all. I'm bad at goodbyes. I don't like doing it. I'm just gonna go. Okay, see ya. Bye. Outro, clicking now. Okay.